Hello, everyone, and welcome to Exploring Awesome, the show where I, hypnotist Jim Kellner, explore tips, tricks, and strategies to help you and me to live a more awesome life. Today, we're going to learn how to live a more awesome life by getting more business on LinkedIn and Twitter. And by getting more business, I mean building relationships and showing the love and all this. And I'm joined today by attorney at law, Wes Williams. Hello, Wes.
How are you doing, Jim? Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You're my first attorney on the show.
Is that right? Well, I feel honored and privileged. Thank you.
So Wes has utilized LinkedIn and Twitter. I believe Twitter also. You've used that to build.
Yeah, I use a lot of the social media sites. Not so much Facebook. I have my own opinions about Facebook. I mean, I use Facebook on a more personal level, not so much for business.
Gotcha.
But other people can utilize it as well, and if it works for them, that's great.
You know, I have sort of what I find for me for Facebook is it works as a top of mind type of advertising, I guess you'd say. You know, people that don't even comment or like my posts, all of a sudden will shoot me a message and say, you know, I've been following you for years. I want to quit smoking, and so of course I thought of you. And
that's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm just sort of going, really? I haven't even seen you like anything in years, you know. So it's interesting the way that happens. But you know, I don't have a whole lot of success with, hey, here's an offer, come buy this thing or sign up for this thing. I have some success, but certainly not as much as I'd like. And you know, everybody keeps telling me that LinkedIn and Twitter are the way to go, and I hate them both. Wes, help me love them.
Well, you know, I started using LinkedIn. God, it was many years ago when they first started as a platform. And to be honest with you, it wasn't anything great at the time. I mean, I mostly used it as kind of like an online resume. And I connect with other people who were, in the same business that I was. And to be honest with you, I think, it's still used for that to this day, but I think it's underutilized to some extent, because I've noticed a lot of people that are using the site in the way, essentially maximizing the site, the benefits of it. Because when you think about it, the people that Facebook is essentially for everybody. It's for, mom, dad, grandma, family members, and you kind of build this sphere of influence from a personal perspective. Some people use Facebook for business. LinkedIn is solely for business. So if you're a professional, I highly recommend, and in whatever area of business that you're in, I highly recommend migrating to that platform and starting to learn about it. It has the same or similar functionality to Facebook. You can do live video. You can do audio. You could. It has a platform for writing blogs, blog posts, things of that nature, and you can connect with other people in the same industry or market to people that will utilize your services as well. Like, for example, my background is as an attorney. I've also have many years in the title insurance industry, and for the last 2.5 years, I've been in cryptocurrency and blockchain space. And so my target market now are those businesses. So I market my services to these industries, and I've garnered a network of over 7,000 followers now, and it's growing. It continues to grow. I mean, that's nothing. I've watched a girl who started on LinkedIn, and she literally started about 1.5 years ago. And she's a young girl, fresh out of college, got in the mortgage business, and I kid you not, she put out video content every single day, and she did that consistently, and she grew her network to over 20,000 followers in the span of 4 months. And she's been putting out additional videos and kind of sharing her story on LinkedIn. She's got so many it's opened up so many opportunities for her. And so that's my story with LinkedIn is you put out daily content. Videos are highly effective and not long drawn out videos. I mean, I'm talking, you know, you put out maybe less than 2-minute videos with enough information that's engaging, that is informative, and that's eye catching. And you know, you will start to see your network grow, and it develops these networking opportunities for you as well.
Wow, 20,000. I don't know that I could come up with something to say every single day.
I think you could. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I mean, it really depends. I mean, you actually do. To be funny, you put out content every single day.
I guess I do.
I see your content on LinkedIn. I see it on Facebook, and you have this podcast. I mean, that's I think it's for a lot of people. It's their fear of putting themselves out there. That's what's holding them back a lot of times, and that's what's keeping them in the place that they're currently in.
Absolutely, you know, and that is one of my big issues. And you know, as a hypnotist too, and I have a group. If you're a hypnotist out there, join it. Launch Your Hypnosis Career Now. One of the things that drives me crazy is that I have these folks that tell me they want to be a hypnotist, but I go and I look at their timeline. They post nothing about hypnosis, and so you know, nobody knows you're a hypnotist. So you're sort of you're really missing an opportunity for some free advertising just by throwing it out there on whatever social media you're on. And it drives me crazy, Wes.
No, I agree with you. I completely agree with you there. And to be honest with you, I mean, I'm truly of the belief that anybody can do anything. They just have to believe in themselves, and they have to take action.
Taking action is so essential, and that's the thing. And so a lot of people, they don't have the confidence to get started, and I try to help them with that too. But once you start doing it, you get more confidence. So it's kind of a thing like this, you know. So my cat memes do terrible on LinkedIn, Wes. What should I do instead?
Well, I don't know how many people out there are interested in hiring you because of your cat memes. But I would be honest with you. I mean, as a hypnotist that's posting on LinkedIn, your target, I would think your target audience, because you are such a diverse hypnotist, you not only do stage hypnosis shows, but you also do performance training as well, utilizing hypnosis for performance training. I think there are a lot of companies out there that would love to have a hypnotist come in and train their sales staff on, you know, things like language patterns, you know, how to, you know, induce a hypnotic state in their clients, to get them to buy their products and services, not in a way that's kind of malicious, but you know, that's going to create a win-win situation for both. And you know, you as a hypnotist, I think, could be putting out content that kind of directs that message towards these folks that you connect with on LinkedIn, these professionals, these organizations that would want and need your services.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So here's one of the things too, is I only just recently found out that you could do live video on LinkedIn. I didn't know. Has that been around for a while?
No, I think it's fairly recent, but I know you could upload video content, and of course, so it's, I mean, it's not that difficult. You know, LinkedIn is a fairly easy platform to utilize. Yeah, blogs are really good too. I know a lot of in the space that I currently market to, the blockchain cryptocurrency space, I've connected with a lot of influencers in the space who frequently, you know, post on LinkedIn, but they're huge on Twitter. If you're looking to expand your audience to a global perspective, you build a following on Twitter. Write a lot of posts. Medium is a good site for blogging. Okay. I mean, LinkedIn also has a functionality where you can put written content as well. But if you're constantly putting out content that people want to see and then they can benefit from, and you do it in a consistent way, you will. I guarantee you will see results. I guarantee you will. Like I mentioned before, that young lady who put out content on a daily basis, her videos started to get better. The quality of the video started to get better, and you know, she started a group. She motivates people, so she's a young motivational speaker, You know,
Nice.
she brings that positivity to people. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of business people who need that positive, you know, they need that positive influence from people because there's a lot of negativity out there.
Oh, sure.
And honestly, and I think a lot of people respond to the positive messages that are coming rather than the negative.
You know, that's such a good point. And I'll tell you, you know, it's funny because so I've been given a lot of great opportunities. You know, the TEDx talk I did, this video with kids and stuff, and people will ask me, you know, hey, how, you know, they'll say, hey, you know, they'll kind of pull me aside. How do I get a TEDx talk? And I tell them, I have no idea because I was invited to do one. And I'll tell you, I really think that the reason is because of the amount of content that I put out over the years. It's just because, you know, if you Google me, a bunch of stuff pops up. Yep. And then also, I mean, here's the thing. If you want to be recognized as an expert or an authority, then you need to be doing things like, well, if you're either writing a book or, you know, doing blogs and doing videos and things like this, because that's what makes people at least get the impression that you know what you're talking about, because obviously you do, because you're sharing that knowledge, right?
Oh, exactly. No, exactly. And it's interesting too. Just like you, I'm getting asked to speak at conferences on the subject of cryptocurrency blockchain. Matter of fact, I'm speaking on the 21st about this topic to you know, a group of industry professionals. But it's you can't sit back, do nothing, and expect things to happen. You have to take action to get these things. And to be honest with you, the more you put out, the more you do these things, the more it comes back to you. And it's just, and I don't want to get all philosophical and spiritual, but that's just the way it works. I mean, it's just that's how it works. That's how life works. If you want things good to happen in your life, you put out these good things, you put out all this, you know, this work product, and you get the opportunities coming.
You know, that's such a great point. And, you know, when I always try to think about when I heard Wayne Dyer say it, I'm sure he didn't invent this, but he said, how may I serve? And so if you're out there and you're serving by putting that content out, and that really is service, you're providing a service. You know, I don't get paid for the videos I put up. You know, I don't get any checks from Facebook or LinkedIn in that way, but I'm sharing the information. And yeah, there is a hope that there's going to be a return. Somebody's going to want to sign up. But on the other hand, I'm sort of going, hey, this is what's out there. You know, like I get requests all the time. Hey, you know, will you hypnotize me for free? And I'm like, well, here's what I can do. I've got some videos on YouTube. Yes, I don't have time always to work with people for free individually, but I can send them over there and help them out. So yeah, I do think that's so important. And I'll be honest, you know, if you're watching this right now, please comment below if you have questions, comments, concerns. We'd love to hear from you. I am not the greatest hypnotist in the world. There were people that should have been chosen for a TEDx or for these other things, but they weren't, because I showed up. And that's the important thing is I see so many of you out there that you're just hiding. And I love this one because I teach a class too. Also, it's called Fearless Marketing. And one time a guy said in the class, the biggest dog doesn't have to bark or something like that. I'm like, yeah, well that works in that sphere. But if nobody knows who the hell you are, they're not going to call you. Okay. Very
true. Not very true. Yeah, you know, and for a lot of people, and I can't speak to everybody. I mean, you shared with me your story. I mean, it took you quite a while to get the courage enough to put yourself out there to start doing hypnosis, because for some reason you had this fear of putting yourself out there. So you put things in place. I think I don't know if I saw either you mentioned it to me or I saw it on a prior podcast that you did, that you took an acting class. You started putting things in place to kind of get the ball rolling for you to gain the confidence to become what you're doing right now. And it was just it's not like you just sat back and said and you hoped and wished, which you kind of did, but it wasn't until you started taking action. And then once you started taking action, then all these opportunities came to you. Right? Yeah.
And that's so true. You know, it's you know, that, what do they say about luck? It's when preparation meets opportunity or something like that. I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I had the knowledge, the skill, not afraid of being on camera, that kind of thing. And yeah, there was a time 20 years ago. I mean, I was terrified to be on stage. 25 years ago, I mean, I was terrified, absolutely terrified. And people think that that kind of a thing is just how they are if they've got that fixed mindset, but it doesn't have to be. That's just how you've been. And so you can absolutely change. Wes, I want to know about, so where, just if you could just real quickly, where are we at on this cryptocurrency? I thought Bitcoin was dead now. I thought everybody lost all their money.
You know what? I would suggest learning about Bitcoin. A lot of people think of it as a speculative investment. You're going to put your money in, you're going to get 100x return, and or some people believe it's a scam and only drug dealers and prostitutes use it. But when you actually, and this is what I had to think about. Like, I had a friend introduce me to the technology years ago, and I thought, it's just it's magic internet money. It's it's kind of a scam. I didn't know much, but then when you actually read the white paper, and then learned about the history of kind of where it came from, it's kind of revolutionary. And I don't want to get into it here. It's kind of beyond the scope of this, but the bigger picture implications of a decentralized internet money is extremely revolutionary, because it's not owned or controlled by any bank or government, and it exists, and it's maintained by various actors that participate in this ecosystem that make it run. I mean, it's a global currency, and it's kind of truly revolutionary in that way, in that nobody controls it. It just exists, and people use it as a medium of exchange. They use it as a store of value, kind of like how gold is. But some people believe Bitcoin's better than gold because it's not only divisible. You don't have to if you have to store it. It exists on the internet. And that's kind of all I'll say about that. But the underlying technology behind it, the blockchain, it's this distributed ledger technology that is revolutionary. And there's another platform called Ethereum. You can create decentralized software that kind of runs autonomously, and you don't need a human to control this thing. And then you add AI and machine learning on top of it. It kind of creates to be honest with you, there's a whole rabbit hole that I can go down with this thing, and it's kind of beyond this, but it's something that I'm interested in, I'm passionate about as well.
Well, you know what? Hey, if people do have some interest in that, why don't you go and plug your podcast?
It's cryptolawpodcast.com. You can go there. I'm a co-host on a podcast we do, and it's mostly regarding regulation and legal issues surrounding the technology, because there's a lot of legal and regulatory issues, particularly here in the United States, and as well as other countries, that kind of involve this technology. So yeah, I'm there, and you can go to my website, weswilliamsesq.com. That's all in there too. But
nice.
That's just one of the things that I'm interested in. Yeah. And I met you through hypnosis.
That's right. So, tell me about that. Now I only knew about the one group. You've got a street hypnosis, and if you're watching out there, we're going to circle back around. I'm going to ask Wes for his top 3 strategies. If you're like me, and if you're brand new to LinkedIn, or you've only been kind of tweaking around, whatever. What Wes would recommend, maybe his top 3 things that we need to do right away. But Wes, yeah, tell us about this. I know about your street hypnosis one. What other groups do you have on Facebook?
Oh God.
Oh, you got a few.
No, I only have 2 that I kind of maintain. One of them is kind of for fun and interesting. I've always been kind of a nerd, really into sci-fi and paranormal stuff. So I've got a paranormal group that I really don't do much with. I created it. I've got and interestingly enough, I mean, social media is this amazing thing that we can all participate in, and it connects people that are like-minded, and you can really create synergies and networking opportunities for yourself. So I created this group. I built it up to almost 2,000 people. It's this paranormal and UFO group that I started, kind of nutty, but it's fun stuff that interests me. And I started it, and I let it alone, and people communicate, post things, and they network with each other. But another one that I started was a street hypnosis group, because for many, many years I've researched hypnosis, and hypnosis kind of led me down the path of NLP and, obviously psychology. So all of that stuff interests me. I'm always curious about how the brain works. And, there's a social psychological component to social media as well. And when you think about it, I mean, if you know a lot of these tactics, you can develop utilize some of these tactics to help build your following, to help push your services and products, and in a way that isn't, malicious, obviously, but something that's mutually beneficial for you and the people that you're marketing to.
Yeah, I like the way you say that too, because I can still remember this whenever I would talk to a client, whether it was for a stage show or a speaking gig or even a hypnotherapy. I had this kind of gross feeling because I felt like I was selling, I'm like, and especially when it comes to the healing stuff, the hypnotherapy part, ooh, I don't want to feel like I'm trying to sell them. But then finally it occurred to me one day that if I can help someone quit smoking or lose weight, and I don't do everything in my power to get them to work with me, I'm derelict in my duties. I mean, I'm letting them down. And so Absolutely. When you come at this from a place of service, how may I serve? And you can help them, man, you owe it to them to help them. You really do. So you have to think about selling.
No, absolutely. And you don't necessarily, like you said, you don't even necessarily have to sell. You offer these things. And if you've read any of Robert Cialdini's books too, I mean, there's that reciprocity principle that's in play too. If you give something to somebody, it'll get in return. And it's not to be malicious or manipulate anybody, but it's just how we are. We're all kind of hardwired that way. We don't want to take advantage of people. Someone does something for you or gives you something, you're going to feel an obligation to give something in return because you don't want to be labeled as a freeloader or a mooch or something along those lines. So, I mean, these are psychological principles that have been around for a while that you can utilize, and we kind of do to some extent utilize that unconsciously.
Yeah, and so when we're it's I mean, using these certain things with psychology, is completely different than trying to use some kind of sales tricks and things like that. Handing people the pen, here you go. I remember when I was selling advertising back in my early 20s, and my boss was always like, you show them the contract, you hand them the pen. And, and if they take it, they'll sign. It's like, make them take that pen. And I'd be like, here, take the pen. Take the pen.
I don't want the pen. Don't give me the pen.
Get back. So it's not like that at all. And I tell you, it dramatically, when I shifted that way of thinking, and also I shifted it from part of that whole process is shifting away from what's in it for me, and to really, how can I help this person? And because we all have bills to pay. We've got the car payment, the mortgage, and everything like that. And obviously, it's easier to come from this place of service when all those are paid, rather than when you're short on funds. But flipping that switch where hey, if I can help you, then let me do whatever I can to help you. If it's not a good fit, then I even recommend other people. People say, well, I can't afford that. No problem. Here, I can give you some other names of people that maybe don't charge as much. I've got other products available, or you can go look at the free hypnosis as well.
No, absolutely. And what's interesting is too, like I've noticed, because I've become this, in a way, a broker of people. Like, I've networked with a lot of people, and if somebody comes to me with an issue that I can't help them with, I can refer somebody that does do that sort of thing. And for some reason, it always comes back to me. Like, even giving people, not necessarily just free services, but if I can help them in a way, just talk them through some things, it's always been able to come back to me. And I'm not doing it to expect anything in return sometimes, unless they're coming to me for a specific purpose. Like, hey, I need to incorporate my business. Yeah. I'm not going to go, hey, I'll do it for free. Right. I don't operate that way. But if somebody comes to me with a problem, hey, I'm having some issues, with my business, and I'll just talk them through, hey, this is what I suggest you do. Maybe you incorporate, maybe you do, and I'll just give them. And I'm not saying, well, here's my bill. I'll give them that free advice, and then they'll either come back to me or they'll refer somebody to me that is going to be a paying client. And I've always, for some reason, I've been fortunate enough to have that happen more often than not. And I've been able to refer other people too. I mean, I love being the broker, finding synergies between people and putting them together, and it just seems to come to me, and without even me expecting it or even, kind of realizing it. Sometimes I think, God, man, I give away a lot of this advice.
Right.
But at the same time, it doesn't matter. As long as I continue to do what I'm doing, connecting people, networking with people, the money comes. It always does.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too. And I get a lot of stuff too. People, I mean, I get maybe not advice as much as you do, but I get questions about hypnosis, and honestly, sometimes it drives me crazy because I get so many things. I remember one time, oh my God, it was about 10 o'clock at night. Somebody messages me on Facebook and says, and this, don't do this, people, but they messaged me and said, can you really hypnotize people? And it had been like this. I was not in a great mood, and I'd been getting all this BS stuff. And I basically just wrote back and said, I don't have time for ridiculous questions. And now that is not the way to handle things, people. But, when you know that I'm a hypnotist and you ask me, can I really hypnotize people? It's like going to the dentist and saying, can you really fix somebody's teeth? So right. I understand. I understand it probably didn't phrase her question right. She was really asking, can you really help people? I don't know, but whatever. So that's not the way to be. And believe me, I know, folks, I need to get an assistant to handle the customer service part sometimes. What I started doing, and here's a little tip for those of you out there that may have that same issue, because there's a lot of times when I have to bite my tongue on some of these things, and especially, as you know, Wes, with hypnosis, everybody's like, that's just fake anyway, and all this whatever. Sometimes I literally have to stop myself and go, what would I do if I were the customer service agent at IBM or something like that, And so, with something like I said to that lady, I would have been fired, So, yeah. So, trying to be a little more professional. It's tough when you're an entrepreneur because you got to do everything sometimes,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Do you have an assistant? Do you have staff?
I don't. I should be considering that. I've been taking on a lot more work, and finding that I've got to be a very good manager of my time, because if I don't, it can quickly spin out of control. But at the same time, you also got to know, and that's a thing too. I mean, I've been doing a lot of marketing and networking, and then at some point you become that guy, like you mentioned, people are coming to you asking you ridiculous questions, but you've branded yourself as the hypnotist guy.
Right, exactly.
That's you, and everybody's going to come. Yeah, and if they see you more than anybody else, they're going to come to you and ask you. So you can either decide, hey, am I going to take on this person as a client, or am I going to do this, this gig, or am I going to pass it along to somebody else? Because you only know how much you can take on. And if you're doing all of this marketing that is working for you and it's generating business for you, you have to make the decision whether or not you're going to undertake that, or you're going to pass it on to somebody else, which is an awesome thing to have. If you're getting so much work that you're having to pass this, this on other hypnotists, or you're getting double booked for things. I mean, I know, you and I are kind of, part of a lot of the same hypnotist groups.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hypnotists on there that offer, hey, you know what, I'm double booked. Can somebody take this for me? And they're passing along that gig to somebody else, and which is a good thing to have. I mean, I think Absolutely. if you're doing the marketing like you're supposed to, and it's working, that's how it should work. It's nice that you can hand that off to somebody else.
Well, and also, this is the thing too, is what I recognized years ago was, so when you're a hypnotist, you can, as you surely know, because you've studied this stuff, if it has something to do with any kind of habit or behavior, you can pretty much address it in hypnosis. And so we sort of all can do the same kind of stuff, but we each have our kind of specialty. And so a lot of times people will ask me, things like, hey, can you help with this or that? And I'll say, I can help you. But I tell you what, I've got a colleague. In fact, that was just recently. Someone asked me about past life regression. Absolutely, I've done a few of them. I can help you with that. But I have a colleague who's actually written a book on it and does videos on it. I said, wow, maybe you ought to go check with her first. See if that resonates. And I mean, that's just garnering goodwill, makes my friend feel good that I referred, makes this person. And also, and if you think about it, like a doctor would refer you to somebody else, right? Doctor doesn't try to keep everything for themselves. Like, oh, you have an ankle problem, go to the ankle specialist. You got a kidney problem, go to the kidney specialist. So I think it kind of elevates your prestige as well when you can do that.
No, absolutely, and I'm sure she'll pass the the favor back on to you. I mean, I'm sure she. Listen, I can only imagine that if somebody knows you do hypnosis in some fashion or other, even hypnotherapists, they're going to ask, hey, you know what? Do you happen to do stage hypnosis, or do you do hypnosis shows at my residence or parties or whatnot? Mm-hmm. And they go, oh, I don't, but I know a guy, Jim Kellner, who does, and he does all these other things too. So it's always good to network with people that are in your industry. And that's, like I said before, that's what, getting back to LinkedIn, that's why I joined LinkedIn, is to network with people that are in my industry that can potentially refer business to me, and I can do the same for them.
Well, let me ask, and I do want to follow up on that with your top tips. I'm curious about this because, in hypnosis, we do have a lot of, and it's more so than any other field that I've worked in. And we have a lot of, especially on the stage side, we have a lot of people that what I would call have the scarcity thinking. And so it's a very competitive. And, my friend Dan Hedrick, he actually says, I don't have any competitors. I just have colleagues that do the same kind of work. And that's the way I try to come at this. So I don't have to, I can still be friends with James Sellis and not worry that he's going to book a gig that I'm not going to get or something. What's it like in your industry? Is it very cutthroat as well, or?
Well, what's funny is, to some extent, but in certain areas, I've found that I've been able to work with other attorneys in the field that I'm working in, particularly in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space. I've networked with and there's not a lot of attorneys that do this sort of law. A lot of attorneys from the securities space, the capital market space, have migrated over to blockchain and cryptocurrency only because it involves raising capital for your business venture, and in order to do it in a compliant way, you have to comply with not only federal law through Securities and Exchange Commission. You have to comply with your state's what are called blue sky laws. They're state securities laws. So a lot of attorneys that were currently involved in the traditional capital raise side migrated to blockchain and cryptocurrency because there were these things called initial coin offerings. Kind of, it was a crowdfunding mechanism in the cryptocurrency space, but a lot of these companies were doing it in a non-compliant way. So a lot of the attorneys that migrated over there, we kind of all band together to help each other, learn as we go. And I found that the people that I've networked with, at least the ones that I've networked with, have always been so helpful. And we got a few attorneys on the podcast that I'm on, and they've been nothing but very nice, generous, and very willing to collaborate on a lot of things with you and cooperate with you. And I've never felt like I was I guess this may be just my thinking anyway. I've never felt like they were kind of intruding into my space, that I was going to have to, not associate with them because they were kind of stepping in on my toes. I never felt that way. And it's just maybe just because of the way my thinking is anyway. I always thought that, if they're helping me out, I'm going to help them back. And if it's something that I'm not competent in, I'm going to refer them to somebody who's more competent. And there's always ways to kind of maybe listen. It's not like all or nothing. I mean, when you think about it, the zero-sum game mentality is not how our society is progressing. We are moving towards what's known as a sharing economy, where people are kind of sharing ideas and resources, and they're collaborating and cooperating with each other. And when you ask me about Bitcoin, that was the mentality behind it. It's more of a collaborative effort where everybody works together to foster an ecosystem rather than competing with each other, where it's an all or nothing proposition. Everybody can, there's enough resources where we can all cooperate, and we can allocate those resources amongst each other by cooperating rather than competing. And I think if you go in it with that mindset, we could all benefit from that. And we could benefit in a longer term process where it's all or nothing. Mm-hmm. And I just think that mentality, this all or nothing mentality, is keeping us in this stuck state. And if we move towards this era of cooperation, we can accomplish so much more as a society.
Absolutely. I agree completely. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I was just, there's a hypnotist that I associate with sometimes, and I've just decided not to even work with anymore, because I always feel like he's trying to kind of, I don't know, find out what I'm up to. Wants to, I don't know. It's very, he just seems sneaky and underhanded, and I don't feel like I can trust him. And so it's like,
have you ever talked to him about it? I mean, have you ever expressed to him your concerns?
You know what? That's a good point, Wes. No, I've decided to just cut him out of my life.
Well, hey, you know what? If they're not, if the people that you're associating with aren't serving your needs in a positive way, then maybe it's best to cut ties. So.
It's funny you say that, though. You know what? I realize now that probably was a conversation that I should have had at some point. Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah. Okay, so Wes, I'll tell you. So here, let me just can I just tell you my pain points with LinkedIn and Twitter,
Sure.
And then maybe you can help to address them. So number one. Even though, and I don't understand this exactly, maybe it's the way Facebook is set up, or it's actually, when I think about it, it's probably just because it's what I'm used to, the format. But even though I have a lot of people on there that I don't actually know, I still feel a little more connected with them than I do the folks on LinkedIn. The people, of course, I have some friends and colleagues that are on LinkedIn, and I know them, so it's easy to kind of connect with them and share and things like that. Mm-hmm. But the other ones I don't. That's one issue. The other issue, it just seems so damn boring over there.
Well, you know what? I guess for me, I look at it a different perspective. Like, okay. Yeah, I mean, Facebook, you want to connect with friends and people you know. LinkedIn, I use for networking opportunities. In other words, even though I don't know somebody, maybe they're in my second generation line because they know somebody else. Mm-hmm. I'll at least connect with them, and maybe I'll. And here's the thing too: there's a lot of people that don't respond, but I look at it as they may need or want my services, and they don't necessarily know that they do. I mean, so like for example, from a hypnotist perspective. You could offer so much to these people because listen, they're looking for an edge up. They're looking for ways to be able to influence their clients to use their products and services. You have the ability to give them the knowledge to, and not in a malicious way, but a way to give them a win-win proposition. Either, get their sales staff to a point where they feel more confident making these cold calls, which they hate doing. People hate doing cold calls. I don't like cold calls. But if you were able to use hypnosis in a way to make them want to do cold calls, maybe they now, instead of dreading it, they enjoy it. And now you're giving them that sense of, God, I can't wait to do cold calls. Because you obviously know hypnosis. You know how powerful it is. You can create that that suggestion that they love doing cold calls. Cold calls is something that's natural to them. It feels great to them, and so they're going to want to give them just give them that confidence to be able to do those things. And I think these companies and organizations that do have these sales departments where these people they're not meeting their target goals, you can give them those tools. And they didn't know that they wouldn't need a hypnotist for that.
True.
They just assume that their salespeople that they hired automatically come with the knowledge and the confidence to be great salespeople. But that's not always the case. Everybody needs that leg up. And there's other hypnotists. And what's his name? Is it Richard Gailey?
Oh yeah, Richard Gailey. He's a corporate hypnotist. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's his niche. I mean, these are the niches, and even Justin Trans. I mean, he does performance hypnosis for sports teams. Right. I mean, these are niches that you can get into, but you just have to connect yourself with those people that can give you those opportunities. And that's why I think LinkedIn is so important, because they're professionals and professionals within organizations that can get you those introductions into their organizations, but they don't necessarily know that they need your services or products yet.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. All right. So let's take the person out there that maybe that they have a LinkedIn account, but maybe, I mean, like me, I mean, I go post stuff over there, but I don't think about it in any kind of strategic way. I basically just repost whatever I posted on Facebook earlier, which I realize is not the best strategy, because now, especially because on LinkedIn, you can unfollow people. I'm sure most people have me unfollowed because I'm not doing business stuff. So,
and that's the thing. I think you maybe have to reevaluate how you're marketing on LinkedIn, and it may not work the same. It may not transfer over the same as Facebook, and even Twitter's the same is completely different. And I'll be honest with you, I don't use Twitter as effectively as I think I should.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, because Twitter is essentially a global platform. It's a soapbox that you stand on and you project whatever your opinions are to the world, and you're going to get trolls. And Twitter I don't like because the format, the way it's set up, is just so busy. Everything gets kind of jumbled, and I don't, from a aesthetic standpoint, I get lost in all the noise of Twitter. But I know people who use it and use it effectively, and they become influencers in their own niche.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. And and now that you said that, I can see where actually I can see where I could be considered an influencer on Facebook, but certainly not on LinkedIn or Twitter. And so I've really dropped the ball on that. That's a really good way of looking at it too.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it doesn't work unless you use it.
Yeah.
If you use it, but you also have to be, strategic about it too. You can't, you have to continue to post, and you'll get followers. And I'm not saying also post controversial stuff, but some people do to get those. I mean, it also helps if you're already an influencer or a celebrity in your own right in some other industry. Yeah. Justin Bieber posting about wanting to
right.
take, what's his face? Tom Cruise, put him in the octagon and fight. You post something random like that, and it's going to get blown up all over social media. But, you find your niche, and continue to post content. And if you do that, you will be successful eventually. If you do nothing, then it does you no good.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So be strategic. What else should we do? I've heard something about maybe following people that so right now I just kind of follow anybody on Facebook, and then after a while I drop them if they're not engaging or something. What do I need to do with those two platforms? Yeah.
So, like I said before, it's kind of you have to figure out who your target audience is. And for you, you got the whole gamut. You can go the Richard Galey route and do corporate events, or I don't know. It really depends. High schools and other industries that that would utilize either stage hypnosis or therapy clients.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit different. To be honest with you, I'm not a hypnotherapist, and I don't think about who my target audience is, other than the world essentially.
Yeah.
But maybe, I would suggest maybe writing books on a specific topic on therapy, blogging about it. Blogging's huge. Putting out content that kind of relates to that, a specific type of therapy, smoking cessation or anything else, gastric band hypnosis. I know a few people who are doing that as well, but you got to just be consistent, put out content, consistent content, either video, print, or, articles that you've pulled up. I'd say just continuously engage and use the platform consistently, put out good content that you think people would want to see, and then just network. Even if it is, you drop somebody a line on a private message, a lot of people that can open doors for you, they'll, unless you're being strategic about that as well, they won't even open up your private message. Some do. Some, I watch content as well, particularly from people who are experts in marketing on these social media platforms. And some of them say, hey, you know what, I'll open the ones where there's a video, or excuse me, where there's an audio message rather than where there's a text message. So I'd say, you know, do your research, do your homework, you know, develop a game plan, but ultimately it's content. You got to continue to put content out there. And if you don't, then you won't be successful. I mean, I know you're successful because I see your content. I mean, literally every day I see something new from Jim Kellner. Either it's this podcast, it's an article, you write a post specifically about something about hypnosis, or it's something that you did. Either you've done an event and this is how it went. You know, you're promoting some of your products. You are constantly doing. So I see this. And I see the network that you've built up on, and you know, people are following you, but you're only utilizing one social media platform. When I think if you devoted the same amount of time to these other platforms, I think that would just expand your growth even more. And that's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
I think I think what I'm hearing, and you know, it's one of those things where you kind of know it, but you need to hear it again. Is that your same strategy for Facebook is not the same strategy that you're going to use for Twitter, for LinkedIn. So the cute cat memes aren't going to get a bunch of likes and stuff on LinkedIn, but you put out some content about how hypnosis could help in, you know, making more sales or something like this. Then,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. Absolutely.
Yeah. Gotcha. Good. Are there certain people that we should be following? All of us, anyone? I mean, Wes Williams, of course. Go follow him.
Oh yeah, thank you. I mean, honestly with you, I mean, in general, I try to feed my brain with as much content, positive influences rather than negative. So and if, like, for example, in business, I'm watching anything and everything that relates to, you know, motivation, NLP, you know, social media marketing. Obviously, in my own business, when it comes to, you know, blockchain, cryptocurrency, legal, you know, legal topics that, you know, that relate to my area of practice. If it's something that interests me, like hypnosis, I'll follow everybody. I follow you. I follow, you know, all the other great hypnotists, because this is stuff that I want to fill my brain with, because that's what interests me. You know, but there's, you know, if you want, and listen, I'm not talking about people in a derogatory way, but if you want to be a criminal, you're going to follow criminal, you know, you're going to follow, you know, people who are, you know, doing drugs, you know, breaking into cars. You know, you're going to feed your spirit, your brain with all of that things, and that's going to lead you down that path. If you want to be successful in life, you're going to follow people who are successful. You're going to read books about success. You're going to read, you know, you're going to fill your sphere of influence and everything about you with positive things that are going to help you succeed in life. And that's, I mean, you take that for what it's worth, but it's really true. I mean, if you want to be successful, hang around with successful people, learn what they do, follow that same roadmap, and you will kind of by default become a success. If you take those type of steps and become active in it, you focus on that, then you become that. If you want to be something negative in life, then you follow down that path. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not judging anybody, but that's kind of how it works in life in general.
It really is. I think that a lot of people, maybe they don't recognize it or realize as much, because I see them, and this is the thing that I've ranted about before, but I'll see people, I mean, just for a really easy example, is I'll see people that I know are wanting to lose weight. They've got diabetes, or they're just overweight or whatever, and they're posting pictures of cheesecake, you know, just, you know, French fries and hamburger, and it's like, see, this is what you're focused on, folks. And when you're focused on that, you're going to get more of whatever you're focused on. That's the way the universe works. That's exactly
right. That's how it works. You what you focus on becomes your reality, and that is true. And it's not BS pseudoscience. Right. It's absolutely true.
Yeah, and I mean, there is absolutely that whole realm of law of attraction sort of universe thing, but there is some very tangible stuff. I mean, it's just you know, whatever you're putting in front of yourself all the time, it's gonna be the thing that tempts you. It's gonna be the thing that you spend your time on. So yeah, I mean, there's it's very scientific. It's very tangible type of a thing. And I gotta say, Wes, you know, you're one of those folks out there that is just always seems to be such a positive force. You know, you share cool stuff. You're always very. I've never seen you say anything bad about another hypnotist or anything like that. I mean, you're just really a really supportive force in the whole area. You know, even in your group that I'm a part of, the Street Hypnosis group.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I you know, it's not. I try to be. You know, here's the thing. I like to be treated how I like to treat people how I would like to be treated. I mean, and if anything, if I'm going to promote negativity or bash somebody else, I mean, listen, it's going to hurt. First off, it hurts their feelings. I mean, and then at some point they're going to feel kind of obligated to be on the defensive unless you trained yourself to kind of come back in a positive way. But ultimately, it does sting. I mean, when someone trolls you and says negative things, it hurts. It sucks. You don't want to hear that stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd like to be, you know, a voice of positivity for people when I can be. I'm only human. I make mistakes a lot of times too, but at the same time, I'll treat people how I want to be treated, and I like to hear good things, and I'm going to uplift somebody because, you know, that feels good. And I want people to succeed. I truly want people to succeed. And if you come at it from that perspective, you'll get the same in return from other people. You treat people like that, they're going to treat you the same way back.
I agree. And, you know, it seems, and I'll tell you, I said, I'm human too, you know, and so I will see things, and unfortunately, I don't know if it was my upbringing or my genetics or whatever, but my knee jerk reaction is like, oh, look at this, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to attack it or something. And I have to step back and go, you know what? I don't need to do that. There's no reason to do that. It's not going to serve any good purpose. I mean, if I've got some valid advice or something, I might shoot them a message. But, you know, like, for instance, you know, we see a lot of posts in some of the hypnosis groups, especially the stage ones, where people just attack each other over stuff. And really, and I mean, I've caught myself a lot of times going, oh my goodness, you know, I should comment on this. This is terrible or something. And it's really, you're just going to, really, it's better to walk away, come back and say something positive. You know, you're not going to help anything.
No, you know, I agree. I mean, to be honest with you, I think a lot of, and I'd hope that the more seasoned hypnotists, and I know I'm speaking about the hypnotist group, but I would hope the more seasoned hypnotists out there would give advice and not be so judgmental, because there's a lot of younger hypnotists coming up through the ranks, wanting the good feedback. I mean, listen, if they're not, and I know there's been a lot of issues with people, you know, not really paying attention to the well-being of the subjects, you know, laying them on the street, you know, with their head on the ground, you know, after they do the induction, instead of saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that, or you know, kind of attacking them for doing that, you know, saying, hey, this is what I found out that helps. And I think it's, you know, you got to kind of keep the health and safety of the subject in mind, rather than, you know, saying, hey, you're an idiot for doing something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Because, you know, it really knocks them down. They don't want to hear that, you know. And even if it does, if that's your intent to try to help them, I mean, listen, you've studied hypnosis, you've studied how language works.
Exactly.
So you as a hypnotist know that when you're formulating your words in such a way, you kind of know how the other person is going to internalize it to some extent, because, I mean, what you're trying to do is you're creating pictures in their mind that kind of link to feelings that they're having or they're going to have. And, you know, if you can reframe something in a different way to create a different outcome for them internally, that's what you're supposed to do as a hypnotist, not create negative feelings for them, because that's not what you're supposed to do as a hypnotist. I mean, you studied this craft for years, and you should be more conscious and what's the word I want to say? More exact with your language, because you know better. You do.
That's the thing. You know, I mean, we should all be doing that. And I'm sure there's groups out there for construction workers and for doctors and all this that have the same kind of issues from time to time. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, and the thing is, everybody knows this. You get more bees with honey, right, than you do with vinegar, or more flies with honey or whatever. And It's astonishing to me sometimes when I see the so-called experts, the language that they use, and also just not understanding that some people you can be direct with, some people you got to be indirect with. I don't know how they can even call themselves a hypnotherapist if they don't get that part, because that's part of basic training. You know, I mean, there's some people that you give them a direct, you talk to them directly, and they're going to, whoa, back off. And if you go indirectly, they're going to accept the stuff. So yeah, it's interesting to me.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. You're absolutely right. And I'm not here to knock on anybody in the hypnotist group. I'm just saying, you guys are all professionals, and you know better. And maybe that is their intent. Maybe they just have that, they don't care. And they know that their words are going to cut like a knife, and they intend to do that. And if that's what their intent is, I listen. It is what it is. I'm not trying to change them. I just think they should, hopefully have a conscience about it. I mean.
Yeah, and this isn't just in hypnosis groups. This is for all of you out there. I mean, yes, I mean, for a lot of times doing that kind of thing, you get that kind of smug look on your face as you're typing, and you feel good in the moment because you were victorious and you told them whatever. But I mean, you just made somebody feel like crap, and it doesn't. I tell you, it's such a much better situation when you can remain, professional, kind, and it almost always comes back to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and a lot of this is done through social media, and I know that's the topic of the conversation. And listen, no platform is immune from that type of trolling from people. But it happens on LinkedIn a lot too. But I will say this in general, overall on LinkedIn, you do get less of the trolls because if you get that one troll on LinkedIn, you're going to have essentially a tsunami of people on that platform coming after them, because we're all on LinkedIn we're all professionals, and you have to be professional and business-like. And you don't have to be a jerk, coming after people. You don't have to be inappropriate. I mean, these are, you behave as if you were in a business setting, and most people know how to behave in a business setting, which isn't a jerk or inappropriate. You be professional and you be encouraging, and that's why I like LinkedIn more so for me than Facebook. Although on Facebook I use it to kind of post a lot of positive, more encouraging videos. But I think LinkedIn is more professional, and you have less of the trolls than you would on social media platforms like Facebook. That's just my opinion only, but take it for what it's worth.
I agree. Great video you posted the other day. It took me a few days to get around to watching it. The one on social media was very, very interesting. Boy, they've really programmed us with those platforms.
Well, they completely. It's admittedly. I mean, they've studied. Listen, I mean, you've studied the brain for a number of years. You know how these feedback loops work. And they hit the pleasure centers of the brain through the likes, through through the advertisers, because they take all the data, and that's one thing you got to really think about. And I'm not here to promote conspiracy theories, but listen, they've admitted it. At the same time, you got to be very careful what you put out there, and how much you're taking in on these social media platforms, because they truly do become addictive, because they hit the dopamine and serotonin responses in your brain, and it becomes this feedback loop where you're constantly having to be on these social media sites. And hey, I'm not immune to it. I mean, you have to be very conscious of it, and we're all connected now through these social media sites, and they become part of your daily life, and they can become habit forming. They can influence you in a way that you don't necessarily want to be influenced. So you gotta have to be conscious about what you're taking into you're taking in here. You gotta really be conscious of what you're feeding that, and make sure that it's the right things and not things that you don't want in there.
That's so true. That's so true. Wes, we're gonna wrap this up now. If you want to get hold of Wes, if you want to find Wes, find him on Facebook, Wes Williams. Find him on LinkedIn, Wes Williams, Esquire. Crypto Law Podcast. You can find out more about the Bitcoin and things like that. Mm-hmm. And of course, WesWilliamsESQ.com. Wes, thanks so much for being on today. Any last words?
Thank you for having me. Thank you. And, listen, it's always great talking with you online and now through this podcast. And I wish you all the success in the world. And I think you will continue to be successful doing what you do because you continue to put out amazing content. And I do appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Wes. And I hope that you're going to join me one day in the realm of hypnosis.
Thank you. Absolutely. Take care, my friend. I appreciate it.
Buddy. All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Be well. Be awesome. Your success is my success.